And we're live. There you go. A little SSD in the middle of the day. Anyone tuning in, hello. I mean, no one's tuned in at this point. I don't know.
We are still alive.
Yes. This channel technically exists. Oh,
Brought to you by Coca-Cola, a proud sponsor of Super Squad D, where the D stands for Don't Forget About Us.
Also brought to you by this styrofoam cup.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, this is going to be, for anyone watching this later on, we're recording it live. So if anyone shows up, hey, good, we can actually chat with you. And that's wonderful. But if you're not watching live and you're watching later on, please know there's going to be a lot of movie spoilers for kind of the big three movies for the month of May / very end of April, since Marvel moved Infinity War up a week. So just a heads up, there's spoilers all over this video.
Spoilers ahead.
Yeah. So, all right, we've warned you.
Without further ado, let's just jump into it.
Tyler and I just got done watching Deadpool 2.
Dose.
This is one of those rare days in which we were off work and we went to go see a movie at 11:30 a.m. So, we've gotten home, Deadpool 2. Tyler, this was your second time to see it. You enjoyed it enough to see it twice.
I did. I felt like I was laughing a lot during the first time, and I wanted to make sure I caught all the references. And thanks to Movie Pass, that dream is a reality.
So, did you pay for your movie ticket the first time around and have to?
No.
Okay.
They've really cracked down on their Movie Pass.
Yeah, so you snuck it in there right before.
I got my first ticket when you could select a different movie and see it. Till now.
Whoops.
But
so
yeah, I enjoyed
it.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. I'm a Deadpool fan. I liked the first film. I really, really like the character in the comics.
Okay.
I'm just a Deadpool fan, and I'm ambivalent towards Ryan Reynolds. I don't like him. I don't hate him. The Proposal was a very good movie. If you haven't seen The Proposal, it is a very good chick flick.
Is it?
R.I.P.D. or whatever that was, R.P.I.D., that movie he was in, and
yeah.
Some of the other movies have been less than desirable, but I'm pretty neutral on him outside of the Deadpool role, and I think he masterfully plays Deadpool. So I'm a fan of the movie. Of course, I liked it, but I want to hear your opinion because you actively have a hate campaign going on the internet for both Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool.
Yeah, I think that's a very accurate statement. Very accurate. It's not. Hi to Will and Scott watching the live chat.
Hello, Will. Hello, Scott.
Both of you probably should be, working. So I've mentioned it before. This is one of the things that I'm always kind of ashamed of, or not really ashamed of, but I don't care for Deadpool, the character. The character has never had any appeal to me. Part of it because it kind of seemed like it was this, somewhat lazy idea of, oh, let's make a guy who just kind of has everyone's powers or something. It was that sort of thing. So I feel like it's kind of a cop-out character in some sort of way. Then the fourth wall thing, I was like, okay, that's really cool. And I think that got ruined for me by Deadpool fans because I would have appreciated it if I didn't feel like Deadpool was and his witty fourth wall breaking was like forced upon me. So that being said, I have nothing against the character. I am pretty ambivalent towards the character of Deadpool.
There you go. Okay.
I neither dislike or like the character. He's just there. I have not seen the first movie because I didn't want to get around to it. This movie in the trailers looked funny. All right. And I thought, hey, you know what? This looks funnier to me than the trailers for the first one did. So I was willing to go with you to see it today. And I have to admit, the trailers were right. What was in the trailers was funny. And those scenes were in the movie. So
yeah, that's accurate.
That's accurate. Beyond that, I think you did a lot more laughing than I did for a lot of the movie.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think it's just, I think it's just not my style of humor. I don't really, I kind of describe it as frat boy humor.
A little bit.
In a lot of ways. Just throw in a whole bunch of profane, conjunctions and
a lot of pop culture references, a lot of zippy one-liners.
Yeah. And
no build-up or very little continuity among the jokes. There's not much like build-up then payoff. It's just quick one-liners.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's not even like, and the one-liners are always just like a joke about genitalia. And like almost half the dialogue on this movie were genitalia jokes.
I can't deny it.
So I it's not my style of humor.
Okay.
I don't really get down with penis jokes all the time. That being said, I did laugh quite a bit in this movie.
Yeah.
There were some very funny moments. There were some I loved Domino, but I love Zazie Beetz as well. I really liked what they did with the character Domino.
She was the standout for me. The way they displayed her power and contrasted that by Deadpool speaking for literally everyone in the audience by saying, luck isn't a superpower. That doesn't make any sense. That's stupid.
Yep.
Was really great.
And then throw that in with a quick Rob Liefeld joke about how
that was
I love
great.
that. That was really
Whoever
funny.
created that superpower must also not be able to draw feet or something like that.
Yeah.
That
Sounds
was
like a lazy,
fantastic.
coked up idea from someone who can't even draw feet. I thought she was great. I liked Brolin as Cable.
I thought he did a good job.
I thought he did a good job. I liked the fact that they made fun of the fact that they cast a shorter guy or an average height guy for Cable.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. Beyond that, I do openly dislike Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
I've never cared for him as an actor. So my favorite parts in the movie were when one of my favorite parts of the movie is when at the very end his Deadpool shoots Ryan Reynolds in the head to stop him from doing Green Lantern. So no, I'm kidding. I don't actually wish harm on him.
I did think the post-credit scene was one of the best post-credit scenes I've seen. I really enjoyed the fact that they went all the way back to Wolverine Origins, a movie that is just like deeply hated by fans and Ryan Reynolds himself for the portrayal of Deadpool, and he just killed him. Yep. Also, it was nice to finally get that Wolverine cameo that everybody's been dying for.
Yes, cameo.
Deadpool. Yeah,
exactly. The fourth wall breaking in this movie was very good. I thought they did it, and they did it in the right amount without it being like an obvious crutch.
I agree.
Humor. They did that. That being said, also like one of the things I don't necessarily care a huge amount for, and is like dark, violent humor. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily. It's just personal preference. I don't really get down with that much. So some of like action sequences and like that sort of stuff are fine. And then but some of the dark humor, and that's one of the reasons why I've never cared much for movies like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Whatever the trilogy is called. Scott can correct me if he's still watching. So I don't care as much for that. It just doesn't vibe with me. It's why I don't know. I don't like watching characters die all the time.
Yeah.
Point. It's like, Deadpool's big storyline in the comics is Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. And like I've read parts of it and I'm just kind of like, I don't have much interest in watching Deadpool blast Spider-Man's face off with a shotgun. Like, that's I don't know. Maybe it's just dark humor, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really.
I enjoyed greatly the X-Men cameo.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
That was a phenomenal little bit. So there was some very good parts, and there's a lot of parts that there we go. Did I freeze for a second?
For a brief moment.
There's some very good parts, and then I don't really necessarily think there were a lot of parts in this movie that I would just say were just flat out bad.
Yeah.
But there's a lot in it that I just don't like.
Yeah.
And it's not my style.
That's definitely a fair assessment.
So I gave it a shot.
What did you think about the X-Force scene? Like the X-Force jump scene. I thought that was fantastic.
It was that was very clever how they build it up. And I really enjoyed that. Again, the fact that it's, the dark, let's watch these people die now. Humor. I was kind of like, well, all right, whatever.
But we got a clear shot of Brad Pitt there.
Yes, we did.
Fantastic.
Which was great. I thought, that was a good scene that I hated. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was I appreciate this, and I don't really ever care to see it again.
Yep.
But anyway, so what would you, on like I don't know, scale of 1 to 10. We'll just do that. Generic scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, I give it an 8.375.
Okay. All right. 8.375.
Solid, fun film, made less fun by some of the over-the-top violence and profanity. For me.
Which some people like. That's
some
just
people that it bumps their score up for sure.
Exactly, and that's
there's a lot of people who came out of the film who were disappointed because it was directed by the guy who did John Wick, that there was not more intense action and violence.
Yeah,
So
I can see that.
Interesting. What about you? What would you give it? What's your score?
Since I'm just talking about, should this be whether or not
for your enjoyment? Yeah, your enjoyment.
For my
not
enjoyment,
the quality of the movie. But
yeah, for my enjoyment, it was probably no higher than a 3.5.
Wow, that is low.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. So maybe I'll say 3.5 to 4.
Okay.
Because there were moments in there that I really enjoyed, but as a whole, I walked out of it and was just like, nah. Yeah. I didn't dislike it as much as some other movies I've seen this in the past.
Speaking of that, let's segue to Solo.
Oh, you want to go Solo now? Okay.
Let's go straight to Solo.
I do want to point out to Scott, he says no one dies in Hot Fuzz. Maybe I just have forgotten the ending where they revealed that everyone was okay at the end of it, but I seem to distinctly remember like a steeple falling on someone's head, stuff like that. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been a while. But that was a movie where I saw Hot Fuzz, got to the end of it, and I was like, that's a 3.5. I don't want to watch it ever again. All right, Solo. Solo came out, just a few weeks back, and came out to what appears to be a pretty commercial disaster. I don't know. Compared to
there's no other way to say it other than it's a financial disaster.
Yeah.
It cost $350 million to make. Or no, I'm sorry. It reportedly cost. Someplace reported 250 plus, but a lot of reports are coming out of 300 million plus. And it came in 10 million under what Justice League did in its opening weekend. And, it was a 4-day weekend.
Right. It was over Memorial Day weekend. It was supposed to be a great time. Mm-hmm. Do you think it was a mistake that they put it in May, sandwiched between?
Certainly. I think it would have done much better in December, for sure. You stick it in a month where there's nothing, maybe you get more people who don't have movie fatigue.
Yeah. Especially because Star Wars movies have been in December for the past several years.
Right. Well, I obviously I did not like it. Let me couch that by saying I didn't hate it.
Okay.
But I felt like I thought it was a very bold choice to cast the most generic, bland, white male actor they could possibly find to play Han Solo.
Did you feel like he did okay, though?
No, I felt like he did terrible.
Okay.
I felt like he lacked the charm, sarcasm, and just general Han Solo cool vibe. I felt like, I'm like, dude, watch Han Solo in the original trilogy, crack a smile, give some sarcastic remark, and move on. Donald Glover at least tried, I felt like, to capture the essence of Lando.
I mean, he was even trying to speak like Billy D. Williams.
He did.
He was talking a little over the top, and it was great.
But he really gave it his best effort, and for that, I give him props.
Yeah.
I give him mad props. I just think it was a weak choice on the onset, though, to go with a Han Solo film. Yes. I think that was a very weak choice for their first big. I understand he's maybe one of the biggest names in the Star Wars mythos. So they thought, wow, his name will certainly bring people in.
Sure.
But I think that was a terrible choice.
Absolutely agreed. Could not agree more. That was my biggest complaint about it. That was my biggest worry going in. Mm-hmm. That was my biggest, the biggest reason I think that they tried to sandwich it in May. So hopefully it just got, let's not, because it had so much turmoil between the casting and almost firing the guy, firing the directors, all of that.
That's why they blew the budget over 300 million is because they basically filmed the movie twice after firing their director and then getting Ron Howard in there. They spent a lot of extra money reshooting that film. It had more of a budget. I want to say, was it the most expensive Star Wars movie to date? I want to say it might be.
I wouldn't know that off the top of my head. Will is saying in the comments he actually did not like Donald Glover as Lando because he felt like it was forced.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I could definitely see that for sure because what Donald Glover does naturally is not Billy D. Williams, super cool 70s guy, which admittedly is just not really what people do in general anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to do a character that very clearly was a, late 70s, early 80s actor acting super cool when that's not really the style that most any actors do. And Donald Glover does kind of awkward or like goofy, tries to be really cool. Like the coolest he can do is Troy from Community, you know, which is cool, but also like goofy, kind of nerdy, that sort of thing. He doesn't really play the laid back cool, but I still thought he did a good job. Part of that being I'm super biased, love Donald Glover. But I thought he did a good job of being this, I think maybe if he wasn't talking the way that he was talking, if he wasn't trying to mimic Billy Dee's voice as much, maybe the performance would come out as a little less forced, as Will is saying.
Yeah.
I still really liked it. It didn't seem as forced to me, but I can see the areas that would look that way.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like it was a little bit forced, but I still just give him credit for trying. Like the fact that he at least tried, whereas I felt like Han didn't. I give him props for at least trying his best to mimic him. And I agree. It could have been, if he had toned it down, I think it would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Because if you ever see him on the red carpet or at events where he's not in film, he's actually a really chill, cool dude.
Yeah.
And I just wish he brought that persona. I think there would have been hardcore fans who would have been like, that's not Lando, but he would have been cool.
And that's the thing. He was trying to play an established character of Lando.
Right.
Alden Ehrenreich was trying to just act, and they were trying to force whatever he was doing into being Han Solo.
It just wasn't good.
You know, he wasn't trying to play Han Solo. Yeah. He was playing like a character. He was, I don't know.
Amelia Clarke did well. I thought she was fine.
I thought she did fine, but I felt like that character was missing something.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like obviously this is spoilers, but the end twist of her like being, I felt like they didn't make her enough of a bad A. The A stands for awesome. They showed like a little bit of her fighting, but that was it. Like they should, if they really wanted to sell the shock value of her character and the semi-betrayal and the leading the cartel, they should have had more scenes that Han didn't see, but we got to see of her just being either ruthless or super awesome fighter or something a little bit more that gave us an indication of she is not clearly not the person that Han thinks she is. Whereas when you see the movie, you're like, is she? Maybe, kind of. She seems like the same girl, but she's just been working for this guy.
Exactly. Okay. Here, real quick, is what I liked about the movie and what I didn't like. Okay. All right. Just quick summations. What I liked about the movie is that it was entertaining. It just kind of was. It was a fun little lighthearted, it was a heist movie in space. I think that's how Scott and I watched it together. And I think either he said it or someone in the group said it. It was a heist movie, you know? And I think it was pretty entertaining in that. And where I think it really fell short is that and this is kind of what you were saying about Alden Ehrenreich's interpretation of Han Solo, it lacked any charm. The movie itself lacked any sort of real charm to it. Like, he kind of was flat. And I get that it was because he was mostly trying to portray awkward, young, trying to prove himself as a not the good guy type of character. And which I think is the wrong direction to take with that character.
He shot first. He sure did. Oh, man.
Like, just don't make him so he's a good guy who's trying to be bad. And, you know, because that's not really how, like, Han was always this criminal guy who just every now and then did something good. That's kind of what it was in the older movies. Just kind of play off that. But anyway, but I thought that, I mean, beyond that, you just didn't really, you didn't see enough, I think, out of Kira to make what you were just saying, to make her more compelling. Woody Harrelson was just, the Jon Favreau as the four-armed guy, like, he was the best. He was the only character in that little group that you're like, oh, you know, maybe he's kind of, and then that group is gone. So,
So what's your score? 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. Well, I will say one quick couple things to end on that. And I really felt like the droid was super forced. L3. I thought it was super forced character. It lacked a lot of the charm of some of the other droids that you've seen in there. And I think that got in the way of what could have been a really good droid character. But all that being said, I liked Paul Bettany as the bad guy. So I will give it, on pure entertainment alone, I'll give it a 6. No, 6. Yeah, 6.5. And I'll give it above a 5 because I went into it thinking it was going to be a flat 0, and it actually entertained me.
Fair enough. I felt like things I liked about it. It was a generic, entertaining movie. I think I texted you this when I came out, but it reminded me a lot of Fast and Furious 1 and 2. I saw
1
it.
and 1.
1 and 1. I saw it. I enjoyed it. When I left, I never thought about it again. And that's kind of how I felt about it. I fear that they are really Call of Dutying this franchise, where they're really going to try to pump out a movie a year. Whether it's good or bad, we're just going to put it out there and try to make money. And I think that's the absolute wrong direction to go. I hope this is an anomaly as opposed to what will now be the norm. But that being said, I did get some entertaining value out of it. I couldn't get past the non-Han. It was hard to imagine that, like, at the end of the movie, he goes to meet Jabba. That's like where they're headed. He's supposed to be, this isn't like Han teenage years. Like if they had taken a 14-year-old actor and done the same film, I think it would have hit a lot better. Because
like young Han.
Yeah, because the age gap is so different that you can maybe explain away in your mind, well, he's going to change a lot over the next decade and a half into the Han Solo that we know and love. This is supposed to be the Han Solo we know and love, like 3 years before A New Hope, 3 or 4 years, something like that. So all in all, did not enjoy it very much. I give it a 6 out of 10 and is the weakest of the Star Wars movies for sure. By far.
Will says in the chat that he thinks the weakest parts were trying really hard to tie everything into how he became Han Solo.
Oh, it was so ridiculous.
Fully agree with. Oh my gosh, yes. I mean,
the only thing that worked was how he met Chewie. I felt like that was the only thing that worked. Hey, here's his blaster. He shot first. Oh boy, it was just so cheesy.
Those were some of the biggest issues with the actual like storyline and of the prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, was that like they felt the need to explain everything and how it ties in. And so to see them do that again is sad. It's not good.
Disappointing.
Disappointing for sure. I did like seeing Chewie though.
Yeah, Chewie's always good.
And okay, hold on real quick. So Han was like straight up in the Empire for 3 years.
Yeah, apparently.
And we're just supposed to believe that he just kind of joined it to learn how to fly and then stayed in there for 3 years because he was just like, well, I'm here now.
Couldn't get
gets brought up. That was, I don't know. Okay. Infinity War, it was like a month ago when it came out, and I think everyone felt overwhelmingly positive about it. But what did the movie do right as far as you're concerned?
Everything.
Okay.
It literally did everything right. They took a villain in Thanos and elevated him to one of the best, if not the best, cinematic villains by giving him a believable and relatable point of view, albeit wrong, but understandable as he's trying to accomplish his goals. I thought he was fantastic. I thought they did an incredible job of balancing a very large cast. One of my biggest fears going into the movie was that you have so many MCU characters who play the exact same character. Male lead who's sarcastic, somewhat charming, and gets the job done. I'm like, how are they going to make Doctor Strange, Tony Stark, Peter Parker, Peter Quill, like all of these characters are roughly portrayed in the same role?
How are they going to blend it all?
And they did a really good job of making them all unique.
Yep. And not to mention, they kind of took a lot of the characters that were similar and put them all together so that their personalities clash.
And they could really showcase, like, okay, Peter Quill is a sarcastic lead who's kind of a jerk.
Right.
Tony Stark is a sarcastic lead who's a little insecure but wants to be in charge. Doctor Strange,
super narcissistic, you know.
Right. Doctor Strange is a sarcastic lead who will get anything done that has to be done because he understands the greater picture. Like, I felt like that did a good job. The fights were amazing. I felt like the story flowed perfectly from beginning to end. And let me just say, I'm not going to say never, because there's a whole lot of life left to be lived, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But up until this point in my life, I have never been in a theater that had a reaction like the theater I was in had at the end of Infinity War. I saw it opening weekend, and when everyone started to blink out of existence, when Black Panther started to go, Spider-Man went, literally, you could audibly hear the gasps and the no, 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 oh my God, no. My friend literally cried when it was over. She was literally crying, and she was like, I can't believe they ended it like that. That was terrible. And I was like, this is freaking brilliant. I love it. I loved the way it ended. I thought it ended so perfectly.
Yeah. My poor wife didn't really realize that it was supposed to kind of be like a part 1 and there's supposed to be like a part 2. And I know they aren't really marketing that as part 1 and 2 anymore, but she didn't realize that's how it was like originally constructed. So it happened and she was like, how can they just end like that? What is that? Like, she was like mad about it. I was like, hey, it's because like they're gonna
That's adorable.
Yeah, exactly. But she didn't know that going in, so she was like, how are they gonna resolve this story here? And they aren't. They were just leaving it out there and no resolve.
I thought it was fantastic. I genuinely loved everything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it had bearded Captain America. I thought the Thor storyline was also fantastic. If I had any complaints to say,
it might be exactly what Will just said in the chat. So
it might be, because I'm not looking at the chat. If I had any complaints to say, it would be probably the handling of Hulk.
Yeah, that's exactly what Will just said.
Is it really? I really felt like they mishandled Hulk. I feel like they have just totally lost their way with the Bruce Banner character. Yeah. And I understand what they were trying to do in this film. I think it will make more sense when we see the whole story complete, because now what we're left with is the original 5 Avengers who are going to make their like final stand in the last film.
And probably some of them will die.
Lots of them will die. At least Cap, maybe Tony. But I feel like they took Hulk out intentionally to give him more of the story in the next film, but it just didn't work for me in this film. Like I wanted to see Hulk.
Yeah,
I did not want to see a struggling Bruce Banner who at one point could completely control it and is now like reverted. I don't know. I just thought it was strange.
Not only that, but a Bruce Banner who he's not a good scientist. Like, he's not good at anything. They make him just like this. Like, they brought in like Mark Ruffalo and said, hey, Ruffalo, just play, goofy, aloof Mark Ruffalo role.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, sure. And so it's not the character, he's not. He's up there, like, sure. He's like, why didn't you do this? And he's like, because we didn't think about it.
Right. That was so stupid.
I'm like, you're supposed to be one of the most brilliant minds in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Like, have an intellectual conversation with someone who's another brilliant mind, right?
Yep.
Don't talk like a moron.
That was my only real complaint. Will, apparently you and I are on the same page, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about you? What did you like and what did you dislike?
Well, I was going to say that I liked the handling of Thanos, but you already said that. So, oh man. Yeah. I think my favorite thing about the movie or my favorite scene in the movie was Thor arriving with, the axe. What's the axe's name?
Stormbreaker.
Stormbreaker. Thank you. It was him arriving with like the forging and then him arriving with that. I thought that what worked really well and what I really enjoyed in this movie is that for a movie that wasn't focused on character development, because like we're supposed to have had 10 years of like establishing the characters so that we can put them in this situation, it actually did have good character development.
Yeah,
and Thor, like you already pointed out, the Thor storyline was very good. This whole like him kind of in denial with grief, but also knowing like, okay, like I'm responsible now, and I'm responsible Thor. I'm not original Thor who's, reckless and all. But still kind of, all of that was good. It was touching to see teenage Groot, finally like pull down the video game to make the handle of Stormbreaker and all that. So that was my favorite scene, but I thought that there were several of those little bits in there in which there was good character development. And in a movie that anytime you can do good character development in a movie that's not about character development at all, that means you're doing something right.
Yeah.
What did I not like about it? Well, I think the only thing I disliked about it is that some of the CGI looked bad.
Yeah.
Especially with Thanos, like early on, he reaches down to like grab Thor, and it just looked awkward. Like you could tell they kind of made Thanos' hand a little too large for how Chris Hemsworth was being hoisted in the scene, and it was a little bit strange. There were some Thanos-related CGI moments that
it was a heavy CGI movie.
Heavy. So it's not going to be perfect when you got that much CGI. Let's see. Will says that he loved Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. To see confident Doctor Strange was great. Scott says he wants Guardians of the Galaxy 3 to include Thor in the group.
That would be fantastic.
The dynamic of Thor in that group. Well, I tell you what, and the thing that I think I like the most about it is that you can tell they kept the individual like voices of writers and directors of different movies.
Yeah.
They did a great job of consulting with all of them to get them involved in this. Because the Guardians of the Galaxy obviously interacted with each other and other heroes the way they would.
Yeah.
You know. It was good.
Yep.
It was good.
So overall score, what would it be for you?
I mean, it's solid 9.5.
I'm going 10 out of 10.
Okay.
I'm going just straight 10.
Yeah, and I'm only going not going 10 out of 10 mostly because like I'm going to reserve 10 out of 10 for maybe 1 or 2 movies I ever see in my lifetime, you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
You know, that's pretty much the only reason I'm not rating it higher than that. Yeah. Like if I had to, out of the big 3 that we're talking about here, it's like Infinity War for me here, and then the others are down here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. There you go. Thank you guys for joining us on this stream. Will and Scott in particular for jumping in the chat. Anyone who's watching later on, thanks for watching. Give us a comment. Tell us what you thought of those 3 movies, where you rank them, how you rate them on 1 to 10, whatever you want to do with that. And while you're at it, one little extra thing. Tell us what the next movie you're really excited for this year is. Sound good?
I'm Tyler, and that's Joseph. You're watching Super Squad D. But the D stands for?
Deadpool 2, obviously.
I was going to say done, like the Solo movie, but whatever.
Much like Deadpool 2, the D stands for dick jokes.
Wow.
Bye.
Adios, senor.